man, it just takes you and puts you in a trance. I wonder if everybody else does that. If you guys, can you guys in the chat hear that? Do they get to hear all that?
So they got the last 5 seconds today. Sometimes we hit the play button sooner, sometimes not. But yeah, it gets you focused, especially if you're driving. Like when you're driving, like if I'm doing the post game, that's usually the moment to exhale a couple of times.
Yeah.
Lately it's been for bad reasons. You're like, okay, here we go. And then
you get that. We get it for full 30 seconds, guys. By the time it kicks in, I'm like, I'm ready to go to bed. He gets focused. I get more like, ooh, let's keep playing that. I'm gonna call it a day.
Well, that's speaking about the post. You host a lot of these shows, you know. Like the Smash can be fun because it's kick back and relax, but the post game usually has a lot of emotions, one way or the other, heightened. So
I'm sure hoping that the post game emotions are that of sweet victory. On Saturday afternoon, because it'll be early in the day for you. You got the rest of the evening to watch football and to gamble. And if we win, slam some champagne. We're off the schneid, ready to roll.
Do you think that 1 and 2 is champagne worthy? I don't know.
Hey man, I celebrate the season's first win no matter when it comes. So I'm just going to tell you that you win game 1. I do it in baseball, and it's a 162 game season for the Pirates. If they win day 1. Week 1, I'm like, woohoo! Let's do it up.
What you drinking? What you got there?
I actually.
Is that a Budweiser? Oh, okay. All right. Oyster City.
Yeah. No, I just opened the fridge right before we came on. I didn't even know what was in there. I didn't get to the garage beers, Tom. The garage beers, there's a wide variety of garage beers. I got a fridge with like.
You got Two Hearted in there?
I do.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, I do. But I've learned a lesson with Two Hearted. I got to be careful about it.
1 or 2, right?
They're delicious, though, Tom. They call your name. You finish that first one, you're like, I want 5 more of these. But it's you'll be in Never Never Land.
I'm in a weird place in my beer drinking. It's gone through so many phases. I concede that I go through phases. When craft beer first happened, all in, especially on porters, stouts, and brown ales. You remember that phase. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't too keen on IPAs. Then eventually IPAs came full circle. And man, I loved them. They were outstanding. And then no craft beer whatsoever. I felt like, no, this is just not worth the squeeze because the hangovers were almost like wine hangovers. Now I'm on micro beers, but I'm welcoming back craft beers into my life. I don't know.
You've got to learn what you said, which is, okay, if I'm going to have a Cigar City High Life, which I still love, I need to have 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Ed's asking me if that's a Hooter Brown. It is not. But if I were to have a Hooter Brown tonight, by the way, there are plenty of Hooter Browns out in that garage fridge. If I were to have 1 or 2. Yeah. And then we got to go somewhere else. We got to go a lot lighter the rest of the way because that's a good base. But you can't be out here with 9 or 10 Hooter Browns. This is not going to end well for you.
Who's ever had 9 or 10 Hooter Browns?
Well, I may have accidentally had 9 or 10 Hooter Browns in my lifetime in a night, and it's just the next thing you know, you're waking up on the couch. It's 5 a.m. and all the lights are on.
Yeah.
And the TV's blaring, and you had no idea how that happened. And the next thing you know, you're getting up to go to bed, and your wife is disgusted with you. And it's just you don't want to go there, Tom. You don't.
Yeah. The animals licking your face.
Oh yeah, they're looking at you like, what happened to Dad? He just got loose. So no, we went really this is just a simple legacy lager. This is just a really light.
Hopefully the legacy gets a little bit better this week. So this is not a question per se, but Tim saying, I kind of agree with this. Players getting guaranteed money has taken away incentive from any short-term thinking that many kids this age have, sadly. And that it's confusing to me. Like we talked about it today. You got a few guys on the defensive line. I think Farmers played pretty well, so process of elimination. I mean, the Battle's End does a good job, but that doesn't need to be your last bit of income in life. Like you could be making serious coin at the NFL level with some good film, guys. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, and I wrestle with this because somebody today during the show was in the chat and said, that NIL is ruining the game and players getting paid. For everybody that wanted players to get paid, this is what your chickens have come home to roost, whatever it was.
Oh, well, that's dumb.
Well, everybody at Georgia is getting paid handsomely.
Yeah.
Everybody at Ohio State and Michigan are getting paid handsomely. Everybody's getting paid everywhere. And there are teams that are really good and whose players are playing really hard, some of whom are making a lot more money than anybody on our team. And yeah, I call bullshit on that. That's just it's a convenient excuse because you don't like what's happened to the game. I don't like some of the uncertainty surrounding the system in place currently. But I don't think that Florida State starting 0-2 has anything to do with NIL. And I don't think it has anything to do with the transfer portal, believe it or not. I think it's simpler than that. I actually sadly think to some extent Mike overestimated what he had, what was coming back. And I think that there might be some hubris in what was going on with what he thought was necessary to go out and field a good team for this upcoming year, despite losing what he lost. I think there's some guys that came in this portal that will be good players. You may have whiffed completely on the quarterback, which is the one place you can't miss on. But even saying that, this has not been all of his fault. There are a ton of mistakes being made around him. He's got to look, Mike does, at his staff at this point. I can't abide by as many missed assignments as we've seen on the All-22 when Dominic Robinson breaks down the offense and the defense. There are so many missed assignments. Well, Tom, that is laid at the feet of coaches.
Yeah.
And there's just no way around that. And, I like Mike a lot, and I think he's a good coach. But when you've got guys who miss bread and butter play assignments, you got to look at your coaches at those positions that are either teaching that or allowing it to happen, because that's unacceptable. I don't know how it's even possible. Frankly, one of those blown assignments was one of the first things that you guys showed when you posted that article or the video. What in the hell is Maurice Smith doing?
Right.
Tom, that led me to say really terrible things out loud, like starting with the F word. I was just like, what in the world?
I think that's a function of, and I kind of asked him this question, but I think it's a function of the line rotating. It's a new group in there. I think he expected Ferguson to handle it. I think he thought that was Ferguson's responsibility in that situation. Whether or not that's schematically what is supposed to happen, you just don't do that. You don't vacate like that unless you think the other guy's got it. But that comes back to why the hell are we shuffling? Why are these guys shuffling in and out? Because, I thought he was going to do this. Man, those kinds of I assumed, those errors happen less when you have a 5 that you just roll out there over and over again. Maybe Richie Leonard would have had that situation if he was at left guard, that kind of a thing. So why is Richie at right and not left? In truth, this is something that maybe is worth asking Dominic in a future video. Is there really a difference between left guard and right guard? Because I would rather have Richie between Darius and Maurice the whole time if I can help it. Does Ferguson have to play on the left side? Why are they switching right for left there? I don't know. Just weird questions.
Well, let's see how they come out and play Saturday. They've obviously struggled in many facets of the game. Giovanni writes, we view the transfer portal as a tool to maintain program success and playoff chances, but do you believe recruits view it differently? Recruits appreciate good programs because iron sharpens iron. But what do they have to look forward to if the program is full of one-year transfers and middle-of-the-pack recruiting classes? What iron remains? So I think this is an ever-evolving space, the transfer portal, and an ever-evolving view that a coach has to have of how he utilizes it. I don't believe that there's one way to do this, and I believe Mike is learning that, and I believe that they may have made some mistakes here in the way that they moved forward this past offseason. But I don't believe they were wrong to use it to the extent that they did to turn the program around. I don't think you can have it both ways. I think that Mike would not have been here to have all the success that he did had he not had the success during the 10-win season, which was largely fueled by the transfer portal. So you had to have that year so that you could have the 13-win season. And if he had gone 5-7 or 6-6 the year that they won 10 games, I called it at the time. I said he would have been a dead man walking going into last year. You'd have never seen 13 wins. He would have had another bad season because they weren't close without those transfer portal players. And he would be gone right now. We'd be talking about a brand new coach because Mike would not have been able to get out from under the avalanche of suck that so many coaches who walk into bad situations can't navigate. So he tabbed the portal and he changed the fortunes of the program. The problem is that what remained true 2 and 3 years ago, 4 years ago, is not necessarily true now. Other teams have completely caught up in their effort to properly utilize the portal. They no longer see it as an outlier. They'll go get some players here and there. Now, it changes program for program, coach to coach, and year to year based on whatever personnel you do have or don't have. Georgia had a huge head start. Ohio State and Michigan have had huge head starts in building through the high school ranks. Mike's got to do a better job. His staff has got to do a better job of building the reserves and the talent of depth from the high school ranks, no doubt. But you can still use the portal. I think he's got to find a better balance. I don't think we should go back to the portal to the tune of 10 to 20 players in perpetuity. But I think that certainly filling roster holes that are even perhaps vacated by injury. For example, wide receiver this year, before you ever got started, you lost a guy who I think was absolutely pivotal to your success offensively. You lost him in the spring to a torn ACL, and that's devastating. I think you agree with me, right? Don't you think that the unicorn was going to be a star?
So I think between Hill and Williams, you're in pretty good shape, with the receiver core. Like there are some positions where I feel like they've had the reserves. At least they've done a good job of bringing in, recruits of a high enough caliber that they can be considered reserves. And whether they hit or they don't, like that's just kind of a numbers game. But there are some positions where you say, all right, Jared Verse decided to come back last year. He didn't have to, but he decided to. And Patrick Payton is a good guy that you developed and you have an answer at that position. But where's the other guys? Why did you bring in 3 defensive ends? One you convert to interior, Durajaye, who we have not seen at any point this year. But you brought in Lola Hay and Marvin Jones. Like you had multiple years with Jared Verse to cultivate some more in-house solutions at defensive end. The linebacker stands for itself in that regard. Interior, you have a couple of guys, maybe, yeah. Offensive line, specifically tackle, well, Lucas Simmons getting hurt sets you back, but still, I mean, Alex Atkins told me last year in an interview that there's nothing he loves more about coaching offensive line that when he can replace old guys with young guys. Maurice Smith, Robert Scott, and Darius Washington were still starters last week, and they've been around forever. So one of the things he loves to do the most, Richie Leonard is a veteran player. Keandre Jones is in his final year. He's not been able to do that with Armello, with Early, with Lucas Simmons, and that's out of his control there. Their class of 22. Like, so at defensive end, at offensive line, at linebacker, I mean, you had multiple years, and Jason talks about this too in his question. As an offensive coach, how surprised you that outside of Jordan Travis, they've really missed a quarterback, and how much did Jordan mask some bad calls regularly? Like people's points on social media and the boards when they're saying Jordan was here a long time, and you still had to dip into the portal for his successor.
Yes, because he completely whiffed on AJ Duffy. Yes. I am growing concerned that his evaluation of high school quarterbacks isn't good. I'm growing concerned. I am absolutely sharing that sentiment that I'm beginning to get concerned. I am not off of Brock Glenn just yet, but
yeah, he's a redshirt freshman, but like there should be, one would think, slotting in a third-year player or a fourth-year player ready to go and at least be. And Tate leaving doesn't help, but I mean, Tate
sucked. Listen,
but the point remains that somebody at 21 years old should be ready in that particular circumstance in most position groups. It doesn't have to be about quarterback. That's the one that gets the most shine. But there are several positions, like offensive line this year. I mean, these guys are back for 5th and 6th years. Nobody's ready. Like nobody's even challenging yet, and that's I think tough.
Yeah, I think Otto will be ready, and absolutely. I will say, I'm growing frustrated there too, Tom. I said it last year. I said 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you, to Alex Atkins. We ain't exactly churning out pro offensive linemen around these parts. And the guys that are having success here, in some cases, have been, transfer portal guys. Yeah, man, that's a toughie. This is not a good look to start the year when you thought the strength of your team was your offensive line, and they've been dreadful.
That's where I hold back on saying they whiffed on the quarterback. I think he's exactly the guy that you brought in. Without the drops, he's completing mid 60% of his passes, even with chipping the bricks. Like, the drops put him in a good place, yardage wise, yards per attempt wise, completion percentage wise. You didn't expect to have to depend upon him. You didn't bring him in here to be that player. And also, clearly, something's wrong with the running part of his game. So, I hesitate to say you whiffed. I think he's that guy. It's just that you thought that he was going to have to be 20% of the whole equation, in terms of what your offense brings to the table week to week. And he's having to be 80 so far. That's the scary part.
Let me say this, because we're getting questions about this. So I just mentioned that I'm not giving up on Brock, but I don't think he so far has given me any indication that he's going to be, the next big thing at quarterback for you. I think Luke is the better prospect of the two. I think Luke has a chance to beat him out going into the offseason to win the job. So that tells you that Brock's not as far along as I'd like him to be at this juncture. Now, strange things happen in people's development. He could take a huge leap in the offseason this year, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, you got something. Brock misses far too many very easy throws for my liking in practice. Now,
They could have been beaten out. Well, the decision to bring in DJ could have, taken the steam out of the engine. I thought last year when he had a chance, when it was clear that he was a play away, when Jordan goes down, there was an energy that he brought. And I just think it's human nature when you think that maybe it's your time. And
yeah. No, there's no doubt.
Comes in. I mean, that's part of the math you do when you make the decision as the head coach to bring in a guy who's a mercenary 1-year player.
I agree that, you're out there in 100-degree days, it's sweltering, and you've just been told by who they brought in that you're not going to play.
Right.
That's a toughie. I'd like to see a little bit more fight and stick-to-itiveness and toughness and all that other stuff. I'm not saying he's weak. Brock is a tough kid. It is frustrating, when you look. I think the thing that adds fuel to the frustration that fans feel about where we're at right now is that when you watch college football on any given Saturday and you're flipping game to game to game and you see really sound quarterback play, it's tough. It just frustrates you. You're like, really? Okay. So they got a quarterback and we don't have a quarterback. Like this team over here is going to, that kid for Tulane for real.
Tulane? I haven't seen it. No.
Go back, watch that game. Against Kansas State, that kid's for real. I'm flipping around game to game to game. I'm like, damn, that dude's better than anybody we got. It's like,
clearly with the move they made, they thought they did not need that guy. They thought they needed somebody to help guide and not lead. And I don't mean that from a locker room standpoint. I'm just talking about a distribution standpoint. Like, you know what? Just manage this thing, baby, because we're going to run it. And you won't believe the things that are open on play action after we run the ball. It's like, who's biting on play action right now?
Right. Hog watcher. There are exceptions though, man. I think that isn't the Mason kid from USC. Isn't he a guy that sat 3 years to get his chance to play at quarterback for them right now? I think it is. There's a couple of teams like that where you're like, kids somehow stuck around despite transfer portal people coming in. They hung in there and now they're getting an opportunity to play and they're balling. It's a case by case situation at a lot of these schools. And again, it's ever changing. I do think you're going to see more and more wild swings outside of the elite programs. Georgia, Ohio State. We'll see who enters that conversation. Texas might, because they've done a good job of stockpiling people.
They're on everybody. They're on every player in the country, it feels like right now.
So they got something rolling. It's a matter of time. People have been saying this about Texas forever. But here's the thing. I think you're going to see a lot of radical shifts. Like you're going to see a team go and win 12 games one year and go 6-6 the next. You're going to see a team go 3-9, and then next thing you know, they're a 8-4 program. Like I think you're going to see weird, wild swings in college football because of what's out there now in terms of transferring, unlimited transfers. Everybody's involved in NIL now. Everybody's involved in the portal now. It's no longer this.
So teams can have a hollow year that's upcoming because, the middle term, no good, long term, great, short term, good, that kind of a thing.
Right. Yeah. I think it's weird. Like if you can find a coach who somehow can convince kids that being patient for 3 years and then getting their chance to play is in their best interest, well, hold on to that coach, because it's going to be very difficult in the era of NIL and unlimited transfers to be able to convince kids to stick around.
That would lend itself to this year instead of the approach that was taken, just let the kids play and lower the expectations. But I mean, look, they went for it. They thought they had a core that was good enough to be elevated by 17 transfers to win 10, 11, 12 games. Like that's what the moves told you. And so it could be, you could talk about practice evaluation. You can talk about NFL scouts or Saban or whatever. The decision wasn't made in August about how good this team was going to be. It was made last January.
Yeah.
That's the assessment coming out of the Orange Bowl was you get me 12, 15 players, to plug in these little gaps. We're ready to retool it on the fly. And that's when they set this thing in motion. It's not about spring camp or fall camp at all. It's about the assessment of what they had leaving the Orange Bowl and those exit interviews.
I wonder though, Tom, we've talked about this before, and I do wonder if they felt added pressure by the snub to not take a step back.
Yeah, that's fair versus locker room culture, like actual coaching pressure. Yeah, external pressure.
Yeah, I think they may have felt some pressure to not take a big step back. And I don't know that, but that's just it's speculative on my part, but I wonder, it seems like that might've been a thing. I said on the show, now I get a lot of things wrong, so I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm always right, but I said to you on the show, like, I'm not so sure I would do this. I'm not so sure I would go and bring in this many people.
I was there with you on the quarterback situation, especially even when Tate was still not leaving on Christmas morning. Jesus. I thought just next year, let them hash it out. Let Tate versus Brock let them go. Let them, and they brought in DJ and Cam before the Orange Bowl itself. Like that was that's why he took off. But I figured let them battle it out, man. Like, at this point, you're purging a lot of stuff, and you'll make it run at 25.
I think the mistake is that, okay, so you decide you don't have to take a step back, but maybe you needed to take a step back and go 8-4 as a guy. Then at least you would know what you had at that point, really at every position if you played the young guys, but you'd really know what you had at quarterback.
Yeah.
At that point, if you started Brock this year and he went out there and he stunk and you didn't have anything to hang your hat on, at that point you would either go with Luke or you would go get a transfer portal guy and go on from there. But now you still don't know what you have, and you may be right back in that damn portal. I hope not.
That's the biggest argument, I think, at this point for DJ coming out. It's not necessarily the execution through the 2 games. Has it been good? No. But it's been what you thought it was going to be. And I think it's enough if you find some semblance of a ground game somehow, some way. Still might not. But I think the biggest reason right now is you got to know what you got. You got to know what you got at several positions. Darius, I love you. You've been here. You bridged a gap, and you went 13-0 from the abyss. Awesome. I got to know what I got in Lucas Simmons. I got to know what I got in Jalen Early. Maurice, love you. You've been a warrior. You played injured last year and were one of our MVPs. I got to know what Rizzy's about, or I got to play Otto at center, whatever. Like, these decisions, I think, are coming anyway as maybe the ACC standings bear out. But before you dip into the portal this year, which you're going to have to do again, buy bricks at thebattlesend.com or collectibleexchange.com. You have got to give these kids a chance to play and prove themselves one way or the other. Because if you go back into the portal again, and I'm a second or third year player,
screw you.
Come on now.
Yeah, it gets tough to be loyal at that point.
Tyler wants to know about defensive communication. You got hope for it this weekend after a couple of weeks of reviewing bad film?
2 weeks to prepare, I would hope so. I know you had plenty of time to prepare before those first 2 games, but now you've put on film that you didn't know what you were doing. So those could be corrected. I think they'll simplify the hell out of what they're doing, which is already simple. And I think they'll really get aggressive with their linebackers. I think they're gonna send them. I think you'll see these run blitzes. You'll see a lot of pressure. That way, you remove decision making. You really do. You remove decision making, and you can be toasted and burnt by this, but it's not death by 1,000 cuts. You can also create a bunch of big plays.
Well,
You can create huge tackles for loss, where it gets a lot easier to play defense at 2nd and 15 and 3rd and 9. We're seeing way too many 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 3s. So I do think that's what we're going to have happen. Look at this, guys. Would you look at this? I want you to look at this. He has been pushing to get up here. This is Mike. This is my baby, this 70-pound pit bull who just wants to sit here and kiss this whole time that we're talking.
Did you name him after Norvell?
I did not.
Okay.
Mike, everybody loves your big head, but we're doing a show.
Every freaking rep, Mike. Every freaking rep.
This guy. Can you go sit down? Can you go sit down?
Be sizzle while he's deciding whether he wants to sit down or not. How much weight has Maurice Smith gained since he got here? Watching film reviews, still seems like he gets driven back a ton after the snap. 15, 20 pounds, maybe. I mean, he's at 300 at most. He was down at 285 a couple of years ago.
I think he's put on at least 15 pounds, but he does still get pushed back. You guys documented it. It's tough, man. It's tough. It's very frustrating to watch. I don't really know how it's possible because I think this is the healthiest he's been.
I thought he looked fresh in camp. Now, here's the thing, the D-line hasn't done a thing, so maybe that's why the O-line looked better in camp than, I think health-wise, he looks better. He seems frustrated a lot with the guard play, though. Like, you had a month to communicate, guys, and you've had now 2 games. Get it together. Ed is looking for a promo. Sounds good, Mr. Lemix. We've got a pregame show on Saturday at 9 in the morning. That will be on Warchant TV. That will not be in person at the meet and greet at Hotel Indigo. So that'll be available online only. Then at 10 o'clock, we've got the meet and greet at Hotel Indigo. So we will be there. The magic of recording, perhaps. We'll be there at Hotel Indigo at 10 o'clock. That's on Saturday. But I'll dial it back to tomorrow, 5 o'clock tomorrow night, Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. 5 o'clock tomorrow. Let me wipe down your comment so people can see that. There it is, 2475 Appalachian Parkway for the happy hour. And then post-game show, as always, 10 to 15 minutes after. So Ed wanted the promo. Good for you, Ed. Thank you.
Ed got the promo. All right, Mike. This is ridiculous. I've got to get you off screen now.
You're getting into Herb Street territory here, man.
I'm not taking him with me. I'm not calling him a service. I can curse on the interactive hour. Who gives a shit? I'm not calling him as I was gonna say, a fucking service dog. He's Mike, my dog, and he's jumping up on me because he wants to eat dinner. That's what he's doing. That, and he's also just a loving thing.
Teammate wants to know if you think Luke can be a big time quarterback.
Oh, I think Luke's got a chance to be very good. He's not been put in situations where I can know. Like, man, he's 3rd and 4th. I mean, a lot of times with these reps, we're not seeing him with the ones or anything like that, and I can't go to scrimmages. We're not allowed to go to scrimmages. So it would really help me a lot to see how he plays when we're playing real football, as opposed to running drills. Yeah. He throws a beautiful ball. He's got arm strength. He's a big, strong kid. Was a great athlete in high school. So he has a lot of things going for him, but he's also, I've never seen him scrimmage. I'm just going to be 100% honest with you. It helped me a lot to know what he looks like when the lights are on and we're having a real game.
Yeah, agreed.
That makes it tough.
Chicago Steve, watching the D-Rob breakdown. The breakdowns on the offensive line are extremely concerning. Can any of these get better with Atkins back on the sideline? That would be an in-game adjustment / psychology thing because he's there for every step of the way for practice, install, walkthroughs, everything leading up to kickoff. So that would be about in-game psychology / adjustment talking points. So if you think there's value there, then the answer is yes.
I'm hesitant to say that it's going to make that big of a difference. People want to make that leap because they're aghast at what they're watching with this offensive line. But man, Alex is there at every practice during the week. Those are his guys. This system hasn't changed. Most of those guys have done a million reps within this system. Like that whiff that you saw in the game against Georgia Tech in that film, and there have been others, and that wasn't because Alex Atkins wasn't on the sideline.
Yeah.
There's just I don't know that I believe that. Getting angry talking about this because I'm getting angry at Alex. I'm getting angry at that group not being better.
Scott says or asks, we got some good recruits last year. I'm excited to see Danzy in action. What is the chance Lester also gets more chances? Thoughts on either Mekhi Danzy or Charles Lester?
I love Mekhi Danzy, man. Fast as all get out. Don't know how much he knows about the playbook. He's a true freshman, so we'll see. As far as you don't have to know the playbook to run a fly or whatever. So I mean, you may end up seeing something like that. Yeah, Lester can play. He's already been out there. We're seeing some Lester here and there.
Yeah, we saw some Quindarius Jones, KJ Kirkland. Edwin Joseph got some run last week as well. That was at Fentrell's spot. I'd watch that again because there were some communication breakdowns with 23. That was a common thread in the D-Rob breakdowns. This should be just more of a standard test, although I would imagine Memphis would try and mess with our communication or lack thereof this week. But Azarie was still out there, and I don't know if that was because Fentrell might have been banged up, but they got Quindarius in there quick.
Yeah.
And they did with Edwin Joseph as well.
They love their secondary. I really can't blame them for trying to get some guys out there. I like those guys too. Now, it's evident that some of those guys don't know exactly what they're doing just yet, but they're athletes and they're long and they're physical and, that's exciting. But, God, you really are betwixt and between when you have young talent like that. You want to get them playing time, but if they're in the wrong spot and somebody scores an 80-yard touchdown because they don't know where they're supposed to be, all the athleticism in the world does you no good. Now, you can learn from it, and you can get better because of it. Good luck telling the fans after you lose by 4 touchdowns that, hey, we're playing the young kids. They just are learning on the fly. Hang in there.
Yeah. Yep.
That's tough.
So Eric wants to know if you think that Dilly's departure led to less development from the club.
I like Tokar's a lot, by the way, so I don't know that I would say that. I think Dillingham's a good coach, though. So I don't think it was a good thing that we lost Dillingham, but I don't think it was a bad thing in the sense that Tokar's doesn't know what he's doing. Tokar's knows what he's doing. I give Tokar's the most amount of credit for Jordan Travis.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Jordan we saw in the first half against LSU 2 years ago.
That was Tony Tokar's.
Man, I thought so too.
Yeah.
I thought so too. Caleb, are we seeing how much Jordan Travis hid the O-line deficiencies from last year?
To an extent. Jordan did not run around last year, hardly at all. So he didn't utilize his ability to make people miss all that often. But his thorough understanding of where to go with the football pre-snap is missed. His thorough understanding of getting the ball out on time is missed. Yeah, so there are elements of what's happening right now that tells me we miss him a little bit. Remember, he had Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman to throw to.
Yeah,
and that's also missed.
FDFC wants to know if Mike Cameron can play linebacker.
So Mike was named basically because of that giant neck. I don't know if the camera did it any justice, but when you stand here next to him, he's got this monster of a neck. And I named him kind of after a Mike linebacker, MIC. But he was also named partly by my 2 boys who, like, we were kicking around names when we were adopting him and rescuing him from the kennel there. So we were like, what do you want? I said, I think it almost, we had 3 names and I can't remember. I think one of them was like Keith or something like that. And I just, at some point we were just like, Mike makes the most amount of sense.
Kelly asks, should Chrome and Hawk redshirt this season?
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you got 4 games. You should.
Yeah, you can play in 4 games, so sure. Yeah.
Carol wants to know, do you think Hakeem will make a difference?
100%.
More than just blocking? I'll add a question to it.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Definitively.
It's a good answer. FDFC, do you think the DBs will hold up versus Memphis? They will throw it around, and we haven't been tested yet.
I want them to get tested. I think they're good. I'd rather a team test us throwing the football than us getting gashed in the run game. Tired of getting gashed in the run game, man. Let somebody throw the football and see if these guys make some plays. I think they will make plays. I think Azariah Thomas wants to be tested. I don't think he loves coming up and having to constantly tackle running backs 7 and 8 yards downfield.
Yeah, I think that's, you're still going to see a lot of that because that's what the film begs every opponent to do until Florida State proves they can handle that, pass things off, and communicate. I will say that they had a 1,000-yard receiver last year, did Memphis, and the quarterback's been around forever and a day. So he knows the offense very well. There's a couple of things that you got to do. Never leave your assignment, because if he breaks the pocket, he never thinks about running. His eyes are always downfield. His arm is okay. Especially on the deep shots, he likes to put a lot of air underneath it and time things and anticipate things. So I would look for more of that. He did that last weekend against Troy because the corners played off. So he's anticipating a hitch before the kid's out of his break, and it's not exactly a missile. We should come up and challenge that a little bit more. So that'll be interesting to see. And then the other thing is he loves underneath throws. Hennigan does. Inside of 10 yards is 60% of their offense.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of underneath dump offs to backs. He loves checkdowns. He's not afraid to take that. He's like a 2012 NFL quarterback in that regard. He is fine with the checkdown, and they do a lot of late release stuff with the running backs. So if you're a linebacker, we'll see how they're coached up, but you need to stay there and wait for the running back to release. Don't think he's in there to protect, because then he'll roll out there. It's a 2-yard throw, and it turns into a 12-yard gain because you're not where you're supposed to be.
If our linebackers are not where they're supposed to be again this weekend, Randy Shannon should get in the car and keep driving. I mean, I don't want to. Yeah.
Robert wants to know, does your win-loss change that much if we played nothing but first and second-year players versus the vets? I think last time we did W's and L's, you had it at 7 or 8?
I think I said 7 and 5.
7.
No, I didn't. I don't think I have 8.
You didn't
No.
get to 8, did you? Okay.
No, I think 7 and 5, maybe 6 and 6 even.
Is it worth 2 games different? 3?
You're going to lose a couple of games. Listen, I don't know that you're going to lose any games that I don't currently have you projected to lose anyhow. I've already got you losing at this point to Clemson. I've got us losing to Notre Dame, even though they may not be any good. I've got us losing to Miami on the road. We've already lost 2 games, so that's 5 losses. Yeah, so 7 and 5. No, I think you'd be about the same.
Ray Wilmer wants to know, how does the interactive hour, what does it mean? How does it work? It's simple. Send us a question, Ray.
Yeah, it works like it works like it's working right now. You're asking questions and we're answering them.
And you've got about 12 minutes to do so, because
maybe. I think at 47 we're out.
You've got 9 minutes to do so.
Yeah.
Jeff's feeling salty.
I'm tired of this team. I love all of our listeners and viewers. Of course I do. I just, until they show us something, man, it's tough to keep kicking this can down the road. I mean, they have made most people have got a pretty good sense of just how bad they've been and what they haven't done. And there's a lot to choose from. And we've really thoroughly, I think, vetted those things. We've given some context and perhaps some insight and maybe a little bit of a opinion sprinkled in there about why this is happening or what we think might change. But honestly, they got to go out and play it. They got to go out and play well and give you a reason to believe that something better is possible. And I just don't know, until we see that. Maybe it's Saturday. I think it's Saturday. I'm picking them to win the game. I did pick them to win the game. I did the Warchant report. I picked them to win the game. Today I said I thought they'd win the game. That ain't going to change tomorrow, and it's not going to change in the pregame show. I'm picking them to win the game.
What score did you have, out of curiosity?
What
score did you have, out of curiosity?
31-21.
We're usually in the same ballpark. Yeah. I said 35-21.
All right, so we are in the same ballpark.
It's a defense that's begging to be beaten up. Memphis, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Caleb wants to know if we get an updated W's and L's on Monday.
Well, if they're 0-3, they're not going to win more than 4 games. So there you go.
I was waiting for this one. I saw somebody allude to it earlier. Skippy. Nice name. To expand on the JCS earlier today, if a settlement occurs, do you guys think it's exit fee or more money?
So I don't know the answer, and I want to clarify some things. I knew this was going to happen where things that I said on today's show would get co-opted and taken out of context and bastardized online because the village idiots that are people on Twitter love to weigh in. And then the next thing you know, somebody who's never heard the show is like, oh, this guy Jeff Cameron in Tallahassee said, man, you don't know what I said. You have no idea. There's a game of telephone. What I said was that the chatter and the buzz around realignment and conference alterations and so forth is alive again, because you had a president's meeting that ran late last night. I don't know how late. Some people said I said midnight. I just said it was late. I don't know that it was midnight, but it was late. You also had a conference take action. The Pac-12 went and raided the Mountain West Conference and took 4 teams. So that is automatically going to stir the pot. It's on the heels of rumors that the Big Ten, some executives within the Big Ten, these are things that have been kind of kicked about, not just here, but other places, are interested if Florida State becomes available. And there seems to be some confirmation to that end that they would be interested in trying to plant a flag in the SEC/ESPN's backyard. So if you take all of those things, you can't help but at least acknowledge that that has been churned up again, that it's no longer just sedentary, right? That there is some more whisper, conversation, innuendo, rumor going on. I wanted to make it abundantly clear there was nothing definitive that I said that, hey, this is going to happen, or this is going to happen, or it's imminent. It's not that I know of. Not that I know of. I just thought it was interesting that the game of musical chairs had started back up.
Maybe Cal and Stanford want to go back west.
You really want them to, I think.
Yeah, I do. I think that'd be great. Then SMU joins the Big 12. James Woods, not that James Woods. Can we turn the season around? Yes or no? I say yes. They can. It's within.
What does that mean?
I think that means, so you got 10 games, winning 7 of them, 8 of them. I think you can.
I think you can go 8-4 at best. 7-5 seems more likely.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Can it is the question. I think, yeah, it can. What, if any, I like this question from Hogwatcher. What, if anything, could they do on Saturday to make you think we beat the teams you already think we will lose to?
Block.
Mm-hmm. Hakeem plays well.
Hakeem plays well, and they block.
I agree.
It's that simple. If you can block it up and you've got something that you can hang your hat on in the passing game because he has time, and you have a dynamic receiver make plays and his first time back in the lineup, yeah, man, that would change maybe my outlook. I still don't think you're going to beat Clemson.
Yeah. Probably not. No. I agree. Real quick for me, I'll answer this. No, Hogwatcher, I have not seen the hat that I'm wearing with white with the yellow state. I think I've seen it maybe white with a garnet state, but I don't think – have you seen one?
I've seen white with the garnet state. I haven't seen the yellow one. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, we all want Stanford. Let's see. Is it record dependent, asks Rob, on when the youth movement begins? As in, if they're 2-4 after Clemson, it's full on, or is it strictly performance-based throughout the season?
Well, I don't know why you wouldn't start getting a look at some guys in a more meaningful way if you're 2-4. Now, if you think that making that move means you're going to go 4-8 instead of 6-6, maybe you would hesitate. Because I do think you'd like to go to a bowl. I know that doesn't mean as much as it used to. Yeah. But I think it would be nice to keep a bowl streak alive.
Do these losses affect conference realignment? You think it affects our stock, what we're doing right now?
It doesn't help, but I don't think it hurts right now. I mean, this is a really weird outlier. The last 2 years, Florida State's been very, very prevalent in the national conversation, and I think that there's still a huge brand. So no, I don't think so. Now, fool around and have back-to-back sub 500 seasons, it might.
Yeah. Josh asks, if we somehow manage to beat Clemson, can we get a woo suck at Clemson for hour number 2 of the JCS?
You'll get a woo suck at Clemson for the first 5 segments of the show. Just every segment. I'll lead every segment of the show if you want with a woo suck at Clemson.
More important for Saturday, a win big or just a win?
Just get a win. I would love to win big. Just get a win. I'm done being a greedy bastard. Ingram Smith and I were in a conversation at Hotel Indigo last week before the Boston College game, and he said, look, just go get a win. We just need to get a win right now so these guys start to believe again, and let's get out there and get a win. And I was like, oh, screw that, Ingram. We need to beat BC's ass. I've learned my lesson.
Speaking of the Battle's End, there's a link in the chat now where you can go get your collectibles from the old Doak Campbell Stadium. They're going to
do it.
They're like Sean McGuire. They're going to need your help. Kev, thank you very much for the kind words. He just discovered us, and he listens every morning. So thank you, Kev, for that.
Oh, Kev does? I appreciate that, Kev.
Here's a question for you that you will appreciate from Caleb, who always has this angle. Can you touch on the Oregon State spread and the Arizona State-Texas State spread? Hashtag your thoughts.
I can. Dillingham told somebody I know that he thinks Texas State is very good. Leave it at that. Doesn't mean he thinks they're going to lose. He thinks they're very good. He didn't take issue with the number. Oregon State. Okay, Oregon's looked awful in 2 games. That said, the Idaho game in week 1 was a crazy anomaly. Oregon led the whole game. There were a bunch of weird trick plays and other dumb things. So I don't know that I would count that one the same way I did the following week. I do know this. Oregon, so what's his name? Schwartz, the offensive lineman that used to play at Oregon. Is it Jeff
Schwartz?
He and I know each other. I don't want to get him in trouble. He basically said that they are getting some guys back on the offensive line.
Okay. Yeah, that number has trended away from Oregon, as one might imagine. It opened.
I don't love that. I don't love that Oregon State team right now, and I will tell you that I think that Oregon's about to get healthier than they've been on the offensive line.
So Oregon opened as a 20 in the hook point favorite. It's now down to 16.5 or 17, depending upon where you're shopping.
Wait till you get to game day. You might get it for 14 or something like that. Just hang in there.
There you go. I think that satisfies Caleb's question. Mm-hmm. Who is the better quarterback whisperer, asks Ray. Kenny D or Tony T?
You'd have to ask those quarterbacks. I don't know. I think they're both good coaches.
Do you think DJU will be benched or replaced by midseason? Asked Troy.
I think this game goes a long way in deciding that. What's
for dinner?
I'm getting takeout because the boys want to watch football with me tonight, and we're just kind of having a man night. So this may be a wing night, Tommy.
Okay. Are they going to get the wing order together, unlike they did for the College World Series game?
Oh, that's right. I was so pissed.
That led to a lot of F-bombs on the watch along for the FSU.
That's game. Right. I forgot about that.
You've trusted them with your business again, I take it.
Well, I go to 2 different places. I'm not going to give them free plugs. But I've recently discovered a third.
Okay.
I do care about wings. And I've recently discovered a third place that I like. So they may get the action tonight.
Okay.
And they are trustworthy. They have their stuff ready to go.
No candles tonight? No candles until wins?
It's not dark enough yet. It's about to be like it'll be dark enough sooner. These candles, we'll have this baby going like a flamethrower in here. You'll love it, guys, but it's not time yet.
What's the scent? What's the scent of the moment in Casa de Cameron?
We're coming up on the fall season here, Tom. So it's got to be a whole lot of cinnamon, a whole lot of like pine, a whole lot. You get it. Like the woodsy.
You got to see the color garnet and forest green when you smell it.
Yeah. I got to have some earth tones in my head when I smell that. You know what I mean? Like a forest green type thing. We're not exactly doing fresh cut grass for the fall. You got to have something a little bit different there.
Do you think over under 3 assistant coaches are gone after the season?
The number was 3.5 last week when we did this, and I took the under. But I don't think he'll replace 4 coaches.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens this weekend. Brett Taylor, Luke Clayton just hold out from a bunker. He's -3 through 6. Good for Luke. When's the last time you hold out from a bunker? Have you ever?
I've held out from a bunker. Yes, I've held out from a bunker before, but it doesn't happen frequently. I can count on one hand, and maybe it's 2 or 3 fingers.
Yeah.
You've held out from a bunker in front of me recently. You did it for an eagle on the hole you hadn't eagled yet.
Oh, you're right. Well, thank you for bragging on that. That was in the spring, but
yeah, you did it. You did it for an eagle. I was standing right there. It was awesome. Yeah.
Good point, Jeff. Good point.
I think everybody would admit, though, no matter how good a bunker player you are, if it goes in, you got lucky.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I'd take a 6-footer. I mean, like everybody that watches the tour players do it, and they're like, oh, every time. The best tour player up and down from a bunker percentage is under 50.
Yeah. You saw my first ever eagle a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I couldn't even see my first ever eagle. It was
you rolled out on 5 in Killarn.
Yeah. And then I've had a few more eagles, but I hadn't prior to that for whatever reason. And I had putts. I had like a 5-foot putt for eagle on the par 5, one of the par 5s at Killarn, and I didn't make it. So yeah, it's been a minute. All right, that's it. I'm going to get food. Be good, everybody. Hang in there. Exhale. Enjoy the football tonight. Tom, get some rest. I know you're tired and feeling a little under the weather. We got a Libations Friday tomorrow. Look forward to it. If you want to pimp anything else, you're on your own because I'm out of here.
Okay, he's out of here. Remember, tomorrow, 5 o'clock, the show is 1 to 4 now. So actually, we're pretty much leaving the studio and going to Corner Pocket right after. JCS Live at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Wake Up Warchant, of course, will be in your podcast feeds tomorrow morning. But 5 o'clock is the meet and greet at Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. That's always a good time. Food is delicious and delightful on Saturday. You've got the pregame show. It'll be 1 hour right here on Warchant TV at 9 a.m., right when that other show on the 4-letter network starts. And spend your first hour of your morning with us as you're watching college football content. 9 a.m. on Warchant TV. And then again, the meet and greet. Physically, we will be there in person to hang out. They've got a build-your-own mimosa, build-your-own Bloody Mary bar. I'm not sure how many things you can customize on a mimosa, but I'm pretty sure you can customize an awful lot for Bloody Marys. That will be at Hotel Indigo from 10 to 11 a.m. They actually open up the top floor at Indigo at 9. So if you want to get your day started early, the bar will be flowing at 9 a.m. at Hotel Indigo. We look forward to seeing you online tomorrow and then in person if you're in town. Until next time, thanks for watching us on Warchant TV. Hit the like button and subscribe on the way out. Good night, everybody.